Here's a look at some Wicked cursed art, reminiscent of the characters from the movie Wicked. As we traverse the yellow cursed road, our first stop already places us face to face with a painting featuring the likeness of Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, or should I say, the Wacky Witch of the West. To say this painting is abstract is an understatement. I like to imagine this was the witch's original wanted poster created by an artistically challenged munchkin before the art committee stepped in and chose a different artist. But jokes aside, it's actually hard to believe this painting may have no connection to the fictional character given the amount of similarities. While the hat may not be as tall and pointy, its triangular shape does make us associate it with a witch's hat at a quick glance, and while it's unclear whether the black silhouette behind the figure's head is connected to the hat or not, I think it makes for some convincing black hair. Between the humorously rendered eyes lies an equally humorous elongated nose that, although not present in Cynthia Erivo's rendition of the character, can definitely be associated with Margaret Hamilton's 1939 depiction. Finally, and most importantly, is the green-tinted skin. I mean, how often do you come across random portraits online with the subject's skin entirely green? Between all these factors, it's hard not to draw parallels between this painting and the character of Elphaba. While I have the source of the image, don't expect to find out anything about this piece, as its creator, Todd Kramer, appears to be a man of few words and much simplicity. Not only do his uploads to social media have virtually no description, but even his website is incredibly bare. This uncanny piece was originally sourced from springbreakartfair.com, a website for an art gallery located in New York City, with this particular and untitled piece being showcased in 2023. Hoping to discover more about this mysterious painting, I found Todd's Instagram, and while the piece was surprisingly featured amongst his meager 25 posts, not even a single word from Todd was provided in the post's description. Lastly, we do get a look at some of his portraits, which, interestingly, all share striking similarities to his Wicked Witch piece, from triangular hats to pointed noses, and green hues that extend past the subject's bodies and onto the entire canvas. So while it is likely all of these elements combined coincidentally to make one unique piece, I can't help but to imagine the Wizard of Oz subconsciously played a role in Todd's creative process. Our second stop on the yellow cursed road graces us with Glinda the Good Witch, whose innocent depiction can come off as equally disturbing in its own ironic way. Here we see a girl, sporting golden hair, a fluffy pink dress, and of course, a sparkly pink crown, all characteristics of Glinda's appearance. As for the background, there are lots of coincidental Wizard of Oz motifs we can spot. The giant castle is reminiscent of the Emerald City. The tiny houses can be Munchkin Land, and we even see a rainbow connecting it all to Glinda, as in Dorothy's song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And to tie it all together, there's a quote that sits just above, stating, "Her kingdom is ruled with kindness and love and light. She cherishes the land and people." Something that encapsulates Glinda's character to a T. But while the connections may be there, we can't forget the point of this video. At first glance, most would probably say this is nothing more than an innocent-looking children's painting, which seems quite obvious. But just as you can take anything and put an unsettling twist on it, I think the longer you observe this piece, the more disturbing it becomes. In terms of craftsmanship, rough and patchy brushstrokes typically add an element of uneasiness to a painting, regardless of the subject matter. From the messy splotches and random scribbles, to the ruler's sparsely placed minuscule eyes, red-rimmed as if she's about to cry, it's as though something in this fairy tale land is off. It contains that eerie children's book illustrative quality that you look back on years later and realize it was a lot more disturbing than you originally remembered. I imagine it as a hanging piece of wall decor in a young girl's room, but if viewed in a context like a liminal space photograph, takes on a hauntingly new meaning. Even if you've never seen this piece before, its artist, Mindy Lacefield, definitely has one of those simple and cutesy styles you feel like you've seen dozens of times throughout your life. Between Instagram, Facebook, and her website, Mindy has hundreds, if not thousands, of doodles that make it practically impossible to sort through them all. I happened to stumble upon the Glinda piece from an unrelated image search, initially linking to a Walmart ad, which, as I joked earlier, was apparently even designed to be canvas art at one point in time. And while it leads to a dead link now, sites such as art.com still have prints available, as well as countless others, some even having very similar qualities. And aside from her original pieces, she's even made her own renditions of storybook and fictional characters, from Alice, to Ariel, to Star Wars, even Zootopia, so it definitely wouldn't surprise me if somewhere amongst her countless illustrations a real Glinda or other Ozian exists. These next portraits may be a bit unorthodox compared to the previous ones, but just like earlier, how often can you say you found an artist whose entire portfolio is dedicated not just to ordinary monkeys, but blue monkeys like those found in Oz? They may not be winged, so think of them as Chistery in the rest of the monkey guard before Elphaba's spell made them fly. And just as the Emerald Guard is composed of countless apes, so too has this artist created an army of their own, with over a dozen chimps whose primitive faces are just as raw and soulful as the ones depicted in the movie, their expressions amplified by their broad and choppy brushstrokes. In this piece, the deeply rich blues, in conjunction with the monkey's posture of its chin resting on crossed arms, makes us feel the same somber and contemplative emotions this monkey may be experiencing. In this piece, greens and reds are added to give this monkey perhaps a more menacing or uneasy feeling, with the reds on the monkey's face making me feel as though it just committed a crime against one of its own, or perhaps a human caretaker, similar to the violent tendencies the Oz monkeys had once they grew wings. Lastly, this monkey, whose face is present with reds and yellows, acts as a sort of bridge between the previous two, shaking us to our core with its noticeably mismatched yet expressive eyes, causing us to look on and wonder as its mouth hangs slightly ajar, reminding us, just like Elphaba, that monkeys and all animals are capable of experiencing human emotions as well. All of these monkeys and more can be viewed on dida.org, the website of artist Stephen Withington. Clearly, Stephen has a keen fascination with primates like no artist I've ever seen before, when you consider even his email address is literally monkey@dida.org. His body of monkey-based portraits is equally impressive as it is unsettling. Through these pieces, which range greatly in both medium usage and composition, we get a full scope of the monkey way of life extending well beyond just the blue ones we saw earlier, with Liber Samirum 6 housing monkeys with some of the most chaotic energy of them all. While most of the pieces are distinguished by names, such as the ones from earlier, including Between Two Worlds, Fate in a Pleasant Mood, and Absolution, on the contrary, all of the Liber monkeys are essentially left untitled, only referred to as Chimp, despite their individual uniqueness. And although these pictures have no connection to Wicked in a literal sense, Stephen appears to embody a bit of Elphaba's connection to the animal kingdom, stating, "This was a time when the importance of connecting with one's inner chimp was realized." Quite the coincidence that this particular artist and fictional movie character share the same passion for the spirituality of animals, in particular, monkeys. And lastly, the Wicked franchise wouldn't be what it is without our original female protagonist, Dorothy Gale, although, in this case, far from the lovable character you'd see on screen. This haunting piece, that's sure to be deeply disturbing to those who love the character, places Dorothy as an old woman on her literal deathbed in her Kansas house, accompanied by the already dead skeletal remains of her beloved dog Toto. Not only does this piece present us with physical horror, but even psychological horror as well, when you consider the subject matter. Why is Dorothy, an old woman about to pass on, not only in the same house, but the very same bed she grew up in? Why is her dress the same, as well as her youthful hairstyle? It's as though she's a dementia patient, clinging onto the memories of her childhood, the only things she deems as reality. Or perhaps, amidst her own delusions, she still wanders the land of Oz from her bed, convinced she never truly left. But worst of all is seeing she's alone. Given her age, surely Auntie Em, Uncle Henry, and everyone who was important to her have all passed away, and with no family of her own, all she had left was Toto, still clutching his lifeless body as she awaits to turn into the same Kansas dust she was helplessly trying to escape from, the Kansas sun setting on either a life fulfilled or one that fell victim to a mental ailment. Despite the morbid nature of this painting, the mind of the man behind this piece, Todd Peterson, appears to be anything but. Aside from his page on the site Pixels, which is where I first stumbled upon this piece, the other notable site with biographical information I could find is Saatchi Art. An old-school American artist, Todd shares memories of how his love for art blossomed from rainy day dining room table sessions as his mother put on music and asked him and his 4 brothers to draw what it made them think of. Despite stating he's had no formal art training, Todd has continued to work at his craft, and while most of his pieces have an unsettling, dreamlike quality to them, none of them quite compare to The Curious Case of Dorothy Gale. And while there's no distinct description of this piece, which was completed in 2008, almost a decade ago, Todd has stated that he's inspired by books and movies from his childhood. So, while it's a little strange depicting Dorothy the way he has, I like to envision it as a sort of parody piece and an homage to the film, rather than something out of animosity. Given all this information, perhaps this piece was intended to represent a peaceful farewell to Judy Garland and her iconic portrayal as Dorothy, rather than dark humor portraying her character's mental afflictions. Additionally, the title of The Curious Case is likely a reference to the F. Scott Fitzgerald story, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which features a man who ages in reverse. Perhaps in his own imaginative way, Todd had the idea to combine these two unlikely things together, just like the theme of this video. 2 unlikely sources, random painted portraits, and a blockbuster movie, coming together not to defy gravity, but to defy expectations in the most unusually splendiferous way.